Have you ever woken up, rolled toward the buzzing alarm, and felt an invisible hand press your spine into the mattress? The clock insists it is time to conquer life. Yet your chest feels hollow, your limbs heavy, and a voice you cannot trace whispers that you are a failure before you even stand. Classroom posters call this sensation laziness. Influencers plaster neon text over gym selfies and call it discipline. But deep down, you suspect another explanation, because you remember moments when work felt like flight, when hours slipped away unnoticed and effort tasted sweet. Something else must be happening, something your teachers never mentioned. Picture a traveler handed the wrong compass. No matter how sincerely he marches, the needle keeps sliding toward a direction that leads nowhere he actually wishes to go. After days of hacking through vines, he collapses, not for lack of strength, but because reality refuses to reward his efforts. Most of us inherit such a compass early. Parents, teachers, magazines, and algorithmic feeds spin the needle toward metrics that glitter without nourishing. Perfect grades, inbox zero, endless status updates. Each new promise whispers that finally, with enough grinding, a golden gate will appear. Yet the gate keeps moving, and the march grows bitter. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw this pattern long before smartphones. He argued that people are not destroyed by weakness of will, but by a will aimed at hollow aims. He watched scholars chase titles that did not feed their souls, artists who painted what patrons wanted instead of what burned inside them, soldiers who marched beneath flags they never chose. Nietzsche called them sleepwalkers in daylight. He never used the language of dopamine and burnout, yet he knew the root, misalignment between inner necessity and outer demand. Take a breath and glance at today's task list. How many entries would still matter if nobody else could witness them? Answer honestly, and you may feel a chill. That chill is not shame. It is the door to your real work. When you grind on borrowed goals, the psyche deploys protective laziness. It dims motivation the way a fever forces you to rest. Laziness, then, is not a vice but a diagnostic signal, a blinking warning light on the dashboard of the self. What happens when you heed it? Imagine rewriting your compass. Finish the report before dawn becomes understand why this report matters to any living person, including me. Learn coding because salaries are high shifts to what systems beg to be built and would writing code let me sculpt them? These questions ignite. They widen the chest. Energy follows curiosity the way water seeks lower ground. Discipline remains necessary, but it changes shape. Less whip, more steering wheel. I learned this on a freezing February afternoon. I was 19, broke, and terrified of dropping out of a major I hated. Between lectures on supply chain optimization, I wrote short stories in the margins of my notebook. One featured a drummer who performed underground concerts for ghosts unable to reach heaven. The tale felt ridiculous, yet it tingled every nerve. That night, instead of cramming statistics, I gave the ghost drummer 3 more pages. Dawn arrived, and for the first time in months, I felt alive. The story sold nowhere, but it taught me that alignment generates voltage no deadline can match. Alignment, however, does not cancel hardship. The drummer's story eventually collected rejection letters. Nietzsche would have nodded knowingly. Fate hands each traveler a hammer and a block of granite called difficulty. Some curse the weight, others sculpt it. Amor fati, love your fate, reminds us that resistance is raw material. When the project stalls, ask what shape the blockage suggests. Perhaps the draft needs a slower intro. Perhaps the market is wrong, and you must find a new audience. Granite is not the enemy. It is the sculpture hiding inside the block. Still, even sculptors lose heart when the stadium jeers. Modern stadiums include view counts, follower graphs, quarterly targets. Their roar can drown intuition. To escape it, carve pockets of silence, hike without earbuds, eat lunch without a screen, sit on a bench until the itch to open the phone subsides. In that hush, you will feel the compass twitch, sometimes so sharply you gasp as though it had been held underwater and can finally breathe. People fear that if they drop external pressure, they will do nothing. Observe a child immersed in play, no deadlines, yet hours pass in total concentration. Adults still own that circuit. It lies buried under expectation. Free it and it will hunt challenges naturally, but only those laced with meaning. The mind desires effort as muscles desire movement. Both revolt only when motion serves no purpose they can taste. Design your environment like a blacksmith designs a forge. Clear the anvil. Remove distraction slag. Establish a lighting ritual. Maybe a candle, maybe a playlist that starts soft and rises. During the sacred block, track effort, not outcome. 10 focused minutes can birth an idea worth more than a day of half attention. If resistance appears, greet it as proof of real work. Air offers no pushback, steel does. Between bouts, rest deliberately. Nietzsche walked alpine trails for hours, letting blood circulate until thoughts aligned. Your trail can be a stairwell or quiet street, but make space for bodily rhythm. Leisure, rightly used, becomes fermentation, not decay. Some friends will mock the shift. They relied on shared complaints about laziness to soothe their own misalignment. When you drop the script, you threaten the fragile bargain. Offer them grace, but not your steering wheel. Their disapproval is weather, not command. Words matter. Replace "I'm unmotivated" with "My current map lacks magnetism." One phrase indicts your character, the other invites redesign. Language is software for the brain. Patch the code. Setbacks arrive anyway. Illness, layoffs, heartbreak. Apply the 10-minute rule. Promise yourself 10 minutes of meaningful movement. Revise one paragraph, stretch hamstrings, play a scale on guitar. 10 minutes stabilizes identity. Momentum is mass times velocity. Small mass moved consistently outruns sporadic surges. Flow states signal alignment. They feel like minutes folding into seconds, like work turning liquid. Record them. If they vanish for days, check the compass again. Maybe the map shifted. Life does not promise permanence. Growth often demands trading a comfortable path for a higher, windier ridge. Morning practice. Upon waking, before the phone, whisper one decisive action that would make the day victorious. Write it on a slip of paper and keep it visible. Evening practice. Dim lights. Review the day as a scientist gathers data. Where did energy surge? Where did it flatline? Small daily autopsies prevent massive fractures. Build a micro-tribe. You need not broadcast the journey to thousands. 2 collaborators and 1 mentor form an electric circuit. Choose those who challenge without belittling, who celebrate experiments as much as trophies. The market monetizes doubt. Ads promise salvation from laziness through apps and pills. Their revenue depends on your continued self-accusation. Spend instead on tools that expand capacity you value. A sturdy notebook, a workshop, a lesson that stokes genuine curiosity. Investment measured in renewed desire pays better compound interest than any stock. Conduct a 40-day audit. Each time laziness whispers, jot the true cause. Dehydration, fear of judgment, confusion about next steps, or honest need for joy. At the end, patterns glow like constellations. Adjust environment before berating willpower. Etch 6 principles until they echo in bone. Name the fight. Light ritual fire. Measure output, not worth. Guard recovery. Let words build, reflect, and recommit. These are guardrails, not chains, keeping the wagon from cliffs. Remember joy. Seriousness without joy rots into martyrdom. Laughter oxygenates the furnace. Nietzsche claimed he would trust only a dancing god. Trust a purpose that can laugh mid-climb. Stand before a mirror tonight and say, I am not lazy. I am a focused storm, and I will not squander on battles unworthy of my fire. Repeat until the gaze looking back steadies. Then close the screen, breathe cold air, pick up the hammer of intention. The world is dense with granite. Sculpt. If you still doubt, remember a forgotten year of Vincent van Gogh's life before the first sunflower met his brush. He was a bookstore clerk, then a lay preacher, then a failed art dealer. Each role fit like someone else's coat. Mentors called him indolent. Yet the moment he sketched miners emerging from a coal shaft, he felt electricity travel his spine. Those early drawings were crude, but they opened a door no manager had offered. Within a decade, the world saw color like never before. Van Gogh's lesson transcends pigment. You may be an accountant who feels most alive arranging harmonies after midnight, or a nurse whose pulse quickens restoring motorcycles, or a coder composing poetry and pull request margins. The world needs excellence more than role obedience. A healed engine, a tender melody, a poem that steadies a grieving stranger. These acts justify the oxygen you inhale better than ticking boxes on a misprinted list. Bills, children, aging parents, holy obligations. Alignment is no permission slip to abandon them. It is a demand to fulfill duty efficiently so your vital hours remain sovereign. Nietzsche lived on a pension so thin he skipped meals, yet he guarded mornings for writing and walks for fermentation. Do your job with honest speed, then retreat to the workshop of meaning. A mediocre spreadsheet finished in half the time buys 2 hours for the novel that could save someone's life. Skill is another gate. You cannot live from guitar strings if your chords buzz. Skill blooms under deliberate practice and love of the craft. Alignment supplies love in abundance. Aim desire at structured training. 10,000 joyful mistakes beat 100 dutiful drills. Keep a journal of wins. The first clean bar chord, the first bread that rises evenly, the first video holding a stranger's attention to the end. Beware the mirage of perfect readiness. Alignment rarely announces itself with fireworks. More often it arrives as a shy tug, a curiosity too small to upend a life. Follow the tug. Build a prototype. Draft 1 page. Teach 1 class in a borrowed room. Small public stakes clarify whether the path holds water or just novelty mists. When fear insists on another credential before you begin, remember markets reward value, not certificates. A single edible tomato grown on a balcony impresses neighbors more than a stack of gardening diplomas. Provide proof of competence through creation, then seek credentials only when they unlock gates you cannot pick with experience. Comparison is the silent killer. Scroll highlight reels and your compass may falter. Someone always appears further ahead, richer in applause. But you see their lighthouse flashes, not the cold nights spent baffled at sea. Keep eyes on your horizon. The only worthy metric is yesterday's distance from shore. On dark afternoons ask, what if alignment changes again? What if the world never pays for what I love? Replace questions with experiments. Price your service once. List your product once. Post your drawing once. Data quiets anxiety better than thought spirals. Even negative results clarify the next move. The body needs repeating because a starving stomach will veto all lofty ideals. Sleep deprivation blurs every compass reading. Chronic tension convinces the amygdala you are under siege. Guard the basics. Meal prep is not a chore. It is cognitive clarity. A daily stretch sequence is insurance against the posture of despair. Community amplifies alignment. Seek people who glow after talking about their craft. Their radiance charges your battery, and yours returns the favor. Identify energy vampires, those who trade gossip for connection, who greet your excitement with cautionary frowns. You need not exile them, but ration exposure. Your compass is magnet sensitive. Do not store it near loudspeakers of cynicism. Use rituals to keep that compass true. Begin sessions with a phrase that signals assent. Let's see where the thread leads. Keep a talisman on the desk, a pebble from the beach where you first conceived the project, a ticking mechanical watch. Rituals are rails. Trains travel faster on rails than across sand. Document the journey. Photos of Draft 1, recordings of shaky rehearsals, screenshots of the first 50-cent sale protect you during plateaus. Flip the album and witness undeniable movement from day one. Documentation offers future readers a lantern path, turning private alignment into communal guidance. If critics call you selfish, offer this analogy. A lighthouse keeper who never polishes the lens to attend every village meeting lets ships smash against rocks. Tending the inner flame is civic service. Your aligned work becomes a beacon, or at least a story reminding others they too can redirect sails. Money remains awkward. Some equate spiritual alignment with vows of poverty, yet poverty stress corrodes creativity. Build a 3-slice portfolio, bread and butter income covering basics, aligned income growing slowly from the craft, and speculative seeds. Ideas too young to feed you yet, but nurtured with spare time. This portfolio mirrors an ecosystem, mature trees, flowering shrubs, and seedlings promising fruit in future seasons. Detonation tempts, quitting on Monday and leaping into the unknown. Resist unless you possess runway savings. Sustainable revolution often resembles continuous improvement, rearranging furniture while business stays open. Momentum loves continuity. Give it stable floors. Failures will bruise ego. The manuscript will get rejected. The concert will sell 9 tickets. The prototype will smoke. Feel the sting, then pan for gold in the ash. A blown amplifier might teach you enough electronics to build a better one. A rejection letter may contain a line of editorial gold. The compost of defeat enriches future harvests. At certain junctures, the world demands labels. Job applications, dating profiles, customs forms. Choose the least misleading title and move on. Identity is not a cage. It is a placeholder. When the form asks occupation, write what opens the fewest questions, then return to the workshop where identity is action, not paperwork. At day's end, whisper, enough advance. Enough releases the whip of endless striving. Advance primes tomorrow. Mercy and momentum share the sentence. Reread Nietzsche's line, become who you are. You are both blueprint and builder. Each aligned action sets a brick. Each misaligned action steals mortar. The wall is never done, but by dusk you want it taller than at dawn. Self-talk shapes stamina. Begin sentences with, I am learning to, instead of I can't. The former allows imperfection. Perfectionism throttles iteration. Iteration, not one-shot genius, decorates museums and patent libraries. Time perception shifts under alignment. Hours shrink, but satisfaction expands. You finish physically spent yet spiritually taller. Measure days by depth, not breadth. 5 hours deep trump, 12 hours wide. Loneliness may ambush you. Few companions walk unmapped terrain. Read biographies, listen to interviews, write letters to heroes who will never reply. History is a hostel where pioneers share midnight tea. Their stories remind you solitude and isolation differ. Solitude is chosen space, isolation is imposed exile. Choose solitude. Seek community intentionally. Technology can fortify or fracture focus. Curate digital tools like surgical instruments, sharp, specific, sterilized of noise. A distraction blocker, a plain text editor, a timer with a gong. Delete boredom apps. Set expiration dates on goals. If a project drains life after a year, review its skeleton. Maybe it served as stepping stone. Thank it, archive it, pivot. Clinging to outdated goals out of sunk cost pride reanimates the old laziness cycle. Tonight, the mirror waits. Speak the incantation again, softer this round, like metal cooling in water. Watch the eyes. Are they flickering with restless sparks? Good. Sparks show oxygen reaching embers. Now turn off the lamp. Inside that darkness, a new outline forms. The silhouette of a person no longer at war with invented laziness, but in long conversation with purposeful work. That conversation will shape cities, songs, and friends you have not met yet. Step onto the floorboards. Feel them take your weight. The compass needle steadies, pointing somewhere only you can walk. The door is unlatched. Open it. The night air smells like wet soil and far-off pine. Somewhere beyond the streetlight, a future version of you is forging tools you cannot imagine, waiting for the spark you strike tonight. Walk. If fog drifts in tomorrow, don't curse it. Fog hides nothing permanently. Pause, breathe, sip coffee scented with courage. Read one line of yesterday's progress. A faint outline returns. Maybe 5 steps, maybe 1. 1 step is enough. Lean forward. As boot meets ground, purpose meets you, and the way reforms. Keep moving, forging on,